We're just gonna take this thing apart and see what's good. Let's take a really quick vote. What color buttons are we putting on this thing? My thought was probably the clear. We've got clear buttons. We've already got white buttons on there, so we don't need to put those on there. Otherwise, black and red would obviously probably look the best, match the best with this setup. Clear, black, or red. So I was leaning towards the clear just because I think that would be super fun. Otherwise, I think what I'm gonna end up doing is probably painting, like taking the white, something I already have, taking the white, painting it a different color. This also comes with extra of every button. The D-pad, the start and select buttons, as well as the power on, scroll wheel, all of these buttons. So I may end up painting those too. We agree on red and yellow for the Chiefs. Ooh, do you mean like one of each? Or just yellow buttons with the red stripe? I'm actually down for that. I'm cool with that. Let's open this up, and I'm also going to be swapping out for whichever one of these is the soft. So we've got the soft membrane, and we've got the standard, which is the tactile. I'm gonna be swapping out for the quieter dampened buttons, just because these are nice, but man, they get clicky when you're like pounding on them. Okay, yeah, one of each. You have the black Logan Paul one. That's pretty sick. That's really cool. All right, I'm gonna take that out. Let's take everything else out. All right, battery is out. So the first thing I'm pretty sure that we have to do is take out these 4 screws right here, and that's going to take this back shell off. We have the included screwdriver here. So I'm gonna do my best not to just absolutely destroy this packaging because, gosh dang, it looks super cool. All right, so we are going to take, yeah, so those are this is that tri-tip screw. So unless you have some very specific screwdriver bits, you're gonna need this screwdriver. All right, so that's a long one. Okay, that's a little shorter. Okay, so shorter ones on top, longer ones on the bottom. All right, so we've got 4 screws here. I really probably should have watched a video on how to do this before, but how hard can this be, right? It can't be that hard. Okay, so that's the 4 screws. All right, back plate is off. There's my charms dangling. That's pretty simple. Pretty simple back. Dude, I love the little, there's a little ModRetro logo down there. That looks really cool. Just a little, nice little stamp. Nice little Easter egg under there. All right, so now we've got the back of the Chromatic right here. So here's the scroll wheel, for the volume wheel. We've got the link cable port. We've got the menu button, which that just comes out. So that is, oh, it's got a nice little hinge it's got to sit on. So that just goes right there. And then we've got the battery pocket where that just kind of sits. Okay. So that is, that's stuck in there. So we still got some screws, which I'm guessing are those three right there on the battery pack. All right, and these are going to be much smaller screws. 3 much smaller screws. Okay. And then, okay, so that just takes the battery cover up, but doesn't that? Ooh. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. So we took that out. Okay. We got one more teeny tiny screw down here in the corner that is holding the whole motherboard in. Those three on the actual battery pack were holding everything in, but with that just lifts up. Okay. Whoops. There's their button. Okay. And now you got to be careful with this because we've got this screen connected right there. So definitely don't pull that away unless you disconnect the screen right there. But this should be plenty of room to swap everything out. So we've got then our tactile membrane. So let's see. So I'm guessing that means the black is the super tactile. So we want probably this gray one up here. So we're gonna grab one of those. Oh yeah, I mean definitely. I mean there's a little bit of a difference, but it doesn't feel like a lot. So maybe I just need to take one of these out and feel it. You know, I'm probably just gonna end up taking all of this stuff out. Okay, I can't really tell a difference, to be completely honest. Okay, we're gonna put the gray one in though and see what it feels like. Okay, so we're gonna do the same with the D-pad. We're gonna swap out to this gray one. And then, I don't know what the difference between these are. I don't know if those are just extra D-pads or if there's any difference with those. It literally doesn't even say anything about them being in here. Wait, which? This one. Yeah, it literally doesn't even say. Oh, here we go. Oh, extended longer roll post heights, or we've got a standard shorter roll post height. Okay, which I think I'm okay. So this one's taller. So that one's a taller one, which I'm okay with the height of the D-pad. All right, so we're gonna do a yellow as well as a red button. So now the question becomes red and yellow. Are we doing one on, which one on A, which one on B? Are we doing red on A or B? So we just take the old buttons out and we can test this. We can literally just put this back in here and just say, all right. Oh shoot, no, can't just do that. It's gonna fall out. I'm gonna have to hold it there. All right, okay, not gonna lie, that looks pretty cool. I'm down. One's supposed to be shorter, yeah. Okay, so that's with A is red, B is yellow. Let me swap them really quick. Okay, A, now this is A as yellow, B as red. Okay, how are we feeling about that? Red on A. Okay. Okay. We got one vote, red on A. Red on A. I mean, that looks pretty cool. The only thing I wish at this point now, with this color scheme, is I wish that this white stripe was yellow. I wish I could change that out. I might have to paint it or something. Paint it a yellow stripe. I don't mind that though. I kind of like it. All right, cool. Oh, I see we got a gray D-pad in here now. What? I don't know how they did this. I don't know what's going on. Okay, we're just gonna swap it anyways. Okay, so I need the gray. The gray for the buttons here. And we're going to do, wait, that's the old one. This is the new one. And we just pop that right in there. Okay. And those are pretty easy. You just make sure that like the little things are in the holes and okay. And just like that. There's no real reason to take any of the other buttons out. At this point, the only other thing we could do if we were interested, I mean, again, we could swap out all of these other switches and dials and stuff, but I don't see a need to do that. Okay, the bottom has to go in first so that the headphone jack gets under there. Good note. Okay, so just like that, now we just put all the screws back in. So I'm just gonna put this first little one back in here, make sure everything's in there. Your stripe is yellow and gray. I definitely want to paint the yellow one to purple. That would be cool. That's gonna be the next thing. Not gonna lie, I'm a little bit disappointed that that like the D-pads and the start select buttons didn't come colored either. That's I think the other thing that I'm probably gonna end up painting. How cool will this look? Would this look with like a red D-pad and the same like yellow and red start select buttons or something? Like that would be super cool. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm thinking. All right, so we have the one screw back in the corner. We've got the 3 screws in the battery pack. We're working on the 3 screws in the battery pack. And then it also came with these fun little stickers. So I have to figure out where those are gonna go. Okay, put the menu button back in there so we don't lose that. Make sure that screen's still on there and connected. And then we put our back plate back on. Just like that. We got the 2 smaller screws up at the top. Yeah, that's not too bad, honestly. That's a pretty easy one to mod. As long as you're ready with somewhere to put those screws, right? Because you'll have 8 screws out of this thing, but it's only 8 screws. And as long as you know that as soon as you get all 8 screws out, that motherboard is gonna come out, and you don't want to rip that cable that is connecting the screen. As long as you're gentle with that and don't rip that out off the motherboard, that's a pretty easy one. Just like that. It is back together. And hopefully it's working. But just like that. Hey, oh, it works. It works. We've got new buttons. They're definitely quieter. So the actually, which is probably the best of both worlds here, is it's still just as clicky feeling, but it's not quite as clicky sounding. So I like that. That's good. I'm down with that. Very cool. Awesome. Well, that's it. That's how simple that was, guys. So that's the ModRetro Chromatic with the Chromatic Mod Kit. So this is one thing that I like about this device, though. There's no plastic here, except for like the buttons and the switches. No plastic on the shell. Most devices like this, if you were gonna do this exact same thing with devices made today, there would be glue involved that you'd have to heat up, that you'd have to pry, and you're gonna get all these marks around everywhere where you're like sticking a screwdriver in and like prying it open. And or it's going to include plastic and like those plastic clips, like it's gonna be held in with plastic clips. And again, you're gonna be trying to pry that, you're gonna be breaking those things. The older it gets, the more brittle the plastic gets. This is one of those things. Again, they did this right with the aluminum, that it's got screws in it. Like you just take the screws out. You don't have to pry it open. You don't have to break clips. Everything else about this is a very, very simple to open and get into. So I'm down. I like that. That's very cool. So that was a fun one. That was easy.